We can start. We can get started.
Okay,
I think we have like 10, 11 people joining, so we can start.
totally. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our booth today. Today is cake decoration time, and I have my lovely colleague Depixa here from IR team. Will show us how to decorate the cake. Depixa, over to you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you for moderating with me. Hi, everyone. So let's get into it. We have 30 minutes, right? First off, here's what I'm starting with. This is 2 layers of a 6-inch chocolate cake. I've already frosted it. It's vanilla buttercream, and I'll get into buttercream in just a little bit. And I wanted to use just tools that we all have. You don't have to get anything fancy, like no fancy spatulas or anything like that. But we'll use regular butter knife, we'll use regular spatulas, stuff you can pick up anywhere and everywhere. And we're gonna use ice cream scoopers to do the decorating. So everyone has pretty much these basic tools at home. And then we have a lovely fancy topper to go on our cake. So what we are going to build is basically an upside down, kind of a spilled over ice cream scoop. I did cheat a little bit. I got a little bit of melted chocolate from Carvel and some cherries. And we have some sprinkles. So what I'm gonna start with is a little bit of a base. We're gonna just create a little bit of a mound on top here so we can start scooping. I love chocolate, and it is chocolate cake underneath, so I'll just do a little scoop here of chocolate, and we're just gonna toss that on. And like I said, I'm gonna use nothing super fancy. I'm gonna use stuff that we all have at home. So I used a regular spatula, and I'm using a butter knife just to kind of create this little mound here to get us going. It's so hard not to eat it, for sure. And then we're gonna go with our pink colored buttercream. So here's a couple of things with coloring your buttercream. I always use a basic vanilla buttercream, and that's, as simplest as you can get. It's unsalted butter, icing sugar, and just a little bit of vanilla. The little bit of vanilla goes a really long way. So if you wanted to actually add flavor to your buttercream, you can use fresh fruit, strawberries or cherries. If you want that pink color, obviously you can use colored gel. If you wanted to add just strawberry essence, you can use some of the flavored oils. My take for you is start small with 1 drop, just so you can kind of mess with the flavor of it, and it will not mess up the texture of your buttercream. So we're gonna take a scoop here. We're gonna throw this on. And it's okay if it starts to look a little melty, because it's supposed to look like a topped over spilled ice cream cone. Then we're just gonna go with the vanilla, which has not been flavored at all. And I will say, one of my favorite things about using vanilla buttercream is it's so versatile. You can use it just like this, or you can add so much flavor to it. So we're doing something for ice cream, right? So we can flavor this ice cream with butter pecan. You can add caramel, you can add Oreos, you can make it your own. The chocolate, if you wanted to add peanut butter to it, which it's a fan favorite for me. You could add coffee, toffee flavored, anything that you want. So I love the fact that you can kind of mix it up. Anything that makes it look like ice cream, and whatever your favorite flavors are. So we're gonna go back to the chocolate. We're gonna get a nice hefty scoop of the chocolate here. And we're gonna keep doing that just a little bit to fill out these little spaces so that we have kind of a dome and space for our ice cream cone to fit. How's it looking so far?
It's super. I love the colors. I'm a color person, so it really looks yummy and colorful. Great
Good.
job.
Good, I'm glad.
Can you FedEx it to us?
Well, I was in the office at our New York office just the other day, and that my team fortunately was able to get some of my cupcakes. I brought some in for everyone to try, and everyone got to go home with a box. I was really happy about that.
Oh, lucky people.
I promise to ship you some, Carolyn. Okay, so now we kind of have our scoops up. I'll just toss this over. So it kind of looks a little like droopy, which is, like I said, perfectly fine. What I will do now is I'm gonna take the hot fudge. So yes, I did cheat because we're kind of on a time constraint here. I didn't think tempering with whipping cream and chocolate candy melts was really gonna work for us. But if you wanted to create your own sauce, if you decide to do ganache and you want to do a chocolate drip, what you're going to do is you can use milk chocolate, white chocolate, or dark chocolate candy melts, and you're going to add 2:1. So if you use 2 cups of candy melts, it's 1 cup whipping cream. For the most part, you're really not going to need even that much for this type of cake because of the size of it. It's relatively small. The other part with ganache is if you let it sit, it will thicken up. So think about those canned ready-made frosting. That's basically what ganache is. And for those of you that don't know, that are so into using the canned frosting, which is totally fine, a helpful tip is if you take it out and mix it, you'll actually lighten the color and it will double your frosting. So you don't just have to pop it out of the can and start frosting your cake. Whip it a little bit more and it'll be so much fluffier. So just a helpful tip on that. You don't have to use chocolate fudge. You can use caramel. You can use just Hershey chocolate. There's something called magic shell that ends up turning the syrup hard. A lot of kids like that. So, you know, that's another option there. And so what I'm
Plus
gonna
adults, I'm sure.
I have twin nephews that are now 12 and they just like anything chocolate is their thing. So we're gonna take some of this and we're just gonna start to droop it down from the top, and it'll go all the way down. And it's okay if it starts to drop down the side. Again, it's supposed to look like a melted ice cream cone. And when I do
abstract.
it's abstract, yeah. When I do this type of drip, I kind of like to start right in the middle of the cake and then do like a plus sign, so it kind of just falls on its own in its own geometry. But always start with like a plus sign at the top instead of doing any type of like fancy swirl. It'll get you further. I could just dump this whole thing, but I won't.
Oh, that really looks yummy to mix up.
I'm sorry, Carolyn. I hope everyone had a chance to dig into the snacks. There is, I think, a chocolate pudding in there, so go for it.
I know they keep on talking about popcorn, and mine did not have a popcorn.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So I will tell you this, I am not a professional baker. I didn't go to school for this. I looked at YouTube for a lot of stuff. I started baking because it was, I guess, during the pandemic. I was working full time. I was running the college's foundation. I was in school for my doctorate, and it was a little overwhelming being in front of the screen for a really long time. So I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning one day and I'm like, I cannot watch any more TV. I don't want to turn on the laptop. What can I do? And I ended up going on YouTube and just got sucked into this rabbit hole of baking. So I got up and I baked a cake. And it just kind of, you know, trickled from there. What I'm doing now is I'm adding the maraschino cherries just kind of sporadically all around the top. You don't have to use maraschino cherries if you're allergic or don't like them or just prefer them in your cocktail and not on a cake. That's okay too. You can use crushed walnuts, you can use peanuts, almonds, chocolate chips, marshmallows even, whatever you decide to make that's what I love about this, is it's so versatile to what your family, your friends, what you prefer. So I like that we can kind of mess with it that way. So I think that's
Totally.
good
It's
there.
always, and I love your yummy hobby. It's good that your hobby that you collected after all, it's a yummy hobby.
So now we have our fancy topper. I did not bake the cone. I did not do the cone. Thanks to Carvel for saving me the time to do this. So what we're gonna do is, this is pretty lightweight. There's not a lot of weight to it. Just this part has a lot of weight. But if you do end up topping your cake with something that is heavy, one of the best ways that you can secure it is with a bubble straw or even a chopstick. And you just want to kind of secure it up there. If it's not an edible thing, then you can definitely tape it. I'm pretty sure whoever eats this will break this apart and eat it, so I don't want to add any tape on the inside. But if you end up doing something like that, you can secure it inside, and then you just want to jam it down pretty much as hard as you can to the bottom. So we're gonna just top this on, and I'm gonna squish it a little bit just so it gets a little bit secure. And we're gonna tilt it because obviously it's a scooped melted
pretty
cake. So that's kind of the gist of your cake, right? So you just want to swirl it around, just kind of make sure, does everything fit? Does everything look right? There's some pieces I just want to, you know, tuck in and make it a little bit fancy, just around the edges here. And I'm using a butter knife. I do have the small spatula. You can definitely go find one of these. My first baking kit to do these things was from Amazon. It was like 30 bucks, but I wasn't gonna make you guys all go buy stuff for this. So I wanted to make sure that we are using stuff that everyone has at home. Before I get to the bottom, one of the things I will mention is, for those of you that don't have a bench scraper at home, I actually do use a thicker one if I'm doing a bigger cake. And I believe this is Rachel Ray. So for those of you that do have a bench scraper, it does work really well when you're trying to smooth your sides. But if you don't have a bench scraper, or you don't have a spatula to do the smoothing, to do the frosting on the cake, what you'll do is you'll take your spatula, you'll take your buttercream, and you're just going to move it along and try to be really generous with the frosting that's on, right? Once you get that done, you'll use this flat side of the spatula, and it will take off the excess. But now let's say it still doesn't look smooth. One of the things that you can do is take parchment paper, and you just want to take it and wrap it around the cake. Using your hand, you're just gonna, after the parchment paper is secured, you're just gonna smooth it, and then you can take off the parchment paper. And it'll give you more of a finished touch. So
that's super.
That's just to make sure everyone can still, like I said, do it at home. So let's say also you don't have piping bags, or you don't have piping tips to actually decorate the edges of your cake. That's okay. We're not going to be fancy, right? We're just going to take sprinkles, and we're going to take sprinkles here, and we're going to just fill the sides up. And that way,
who doesn't love sprinkles?
Who doesn't love sprinkles, right?
Totally.
And that way, even if you have excess buttercream at the bottom, that's okay. The sprinkles will actually attach to it, which is even better. So you don't have to worry about, oh, it's not going to have that, floral or smooth lines. That's okay. Sprinkles will be the best way to go. And this is kind of one of the things that I started doing with cakes when I first started baking, is just doing sprinkles or doing like crushed cookies and just making that my edge, because maybe I didn't have time, or maybe I didn't want to spend time filling the piping bag and then emptying it out. And we have a garbage disposal that a lot of my piping tips have gone down, and I refuse to buy new ones. So I'm gonna stick to this method.
Crushed cookies, it looks really yummy as well. It's a good alternative.
Absolutely. So we have our our edges done, as we like to call it in the hair, arena. Our edges are done. One of the other things that I really like to do in doing a cake like this, especially with Reese's Pieces or M&Ms, for example. So if you don't have any baking piping tips, or you don't have piping bags, you don't have all the materials, that's okay. If you can get your sides to be smooth, you can take those movie theater boxes or even M&M wrappers and top off the entire top of your cake with your candy, with M&Ms, even Skittles. And then just like I did with securing this cone, you can put the box right on top, secure it with the straw, and it'll look like the candy's falling out. And then you can just take the rest of the candy pieces and put it around your cake. That way, it looks like you spent a lot of time on it and you really didn't. So this is our cake.
Oh my God.
Another helpful tip that I will provide, and it's actually credit to this woman called Neurotic Mom. I love following her on YouTube. She, she's a home baker, and I really enjoyed watching her videos. So one of these really helpful tips that she gave me was, let's say you have some chocolate frosting left and you have another color, like a deep color pink, right? Who's gonna use all this pink? Not me, not so much. I am gonna save a little bit because I'm making a bunny cake this weekend and I need it for the ears. So I'm gonna save a little bit. I'm gonna save a little bit for the bunny, but now I have all of this that I don't want to throw out. This is butter, and groceries are expensive, so I need to save every single piece of this. So what I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do is add it to my chocolate bowl. And you're thinking, oh my God, this looks terrible, it looks so messy. That's okay. If you want to make chocolate buttercream and you don't have enough, you can mix your already colored buttercream. And remember, these are not flavored, so this kind of goes over an easy fix. And you can just add cocoa to it to get it into another chocolate level of chocolate buttercream. And you're just gonna give it a mix. You can put it back in the mixer if you want, or you can just kind of do what I'm doing and just get it all to sync up.
Well, I love the fact that you're repurposing your cream for other occasion.
I'm the second born, so everything needs to be repurposed.
Repurposed.
Everything needs to be repurposed. And I want to show you. I want to show you exactly how this turns out. I still need to do a little bit more mixing to it, but I do want to show you how you get everything is chocolate again. So definitely repurpose with a purpose. It'll work out. Okay, so I think we have, let me just make sure I covered everything, and we did. So I think we have a few minutes to take some questions if anyone has questions, and I'll just kind of mess with this a little.
I don't have any questions in the Q&A. And
does anybody have comments?
Oh, everybody's hungry and everybody loving your cake. It looks absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
Looks yummy. Maybe I can ask a question.
Please.
How portable is this cake? Like, how easy is it to port it to somewhere else?
Well, I do purchase cake boxes that you would get from a bakery. I do purchase them on Amazon. I have shipped cakes to Texas. My immediate family all lives in Texas. I have one sister, my brother-in-law, and twin nephews. My parents moved there just last year, so it's been a full year since I've seen my parents. And I do ship them cakes. So there's a couple of things to do with shipping cakes. Definitely doable. After I've decorated the entire cake, one thing I will say, I would not put the cone on in shipping. What I would do is put that separate, ship it separate, or just tell my sister to go buy a cone. But I would decorate the entire cake and then I would stick it just like this in the freezer. Once it's frozen, you actually can touch your buttercream. If nothing comes off of your finger, then you know it's ready to be wrapped. And saran wrap, when you're doing cakes like this or you're shipping stuff, saran wrap is your best friend. So I'll take saran wrap and I'll go all the way around, start tucking in the sides, and then I'll top it again. After I do that, it will go back in the freezer. And typically I try to ship it out the next day that everything's done, just for freshness. And after the saran wrap is kind of stuck to the cake, there's it's called like a freezer insulator bubble wrap, and it basically looks like an inside of a cooler. And you can buy it by the roll. I've gone to FedEx for it, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what do you need this much for? And I'm like, I'm shipping cakes, please. So it insulates the cake really well. To get to Texas, from New Jersey to Texas, it takes about 2 days. Another helpful tip, if you are shipping anything like this, do not ship on a Thursday or a Friday because it will sit at the post office. If you are doing any type of shipping, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are your best bets. If I'm asked to ship anything on a Thursday, I immediately say no because I don't want to send something that's going to sit there in the post office and it's getting hot, so definitely not suggested. But I do the insulation and then I just take a box, I'll Ziploc ice packs, maybe about 2. And one time the cake actually showed up and the inside was still frozen. So it ships really well. Another thing that I would say is if you are trying to do mass baking, cakes do last a really long time in the freezer. So after you're done baking, when I was doing it a lot during the holidays, I'd have to bake a lot in advance. And so you dedicate one day, get all your baking done. Once everything is cooled and you release them from the pan, saran wrap, I would do a triple saran wrap, and you can freeze your cakes like that. I love doing it because it's so much easier to decorate a cooled cake. You don't have to do a lot of crumb coating, which is one of the first steps when it comes to decorating a cake, is getting that crumb coat in. I've had to do it less and less because the cake is pretty solid and your buttercream actually stays in place. So I love doing that. If you are going to saran wrap your cakes, I would say maybe a month in advance. That would be good. And if you do want to freeze your buttercream does freeze pretty well. I would say you can give that about 2 months. And to defrost it, you can just put it out into a bowl. I did make this buttercream on Tuesday night. Today earlier, the way I defrosted it is I just took it out of the Ziploc bag. Make sure the Ziploc bags are always airtight. And I just kind of let it come to room temperature, gave it a mix. And if you feel like, oh, this is a little too stiff or needs to have some fluff, add just a little bit of icing sugar. And you can just whip it again with a hand mixer or put it in your mixer, depending on the size of buttercream that you need. And it'll come just back together. It's very generous. It's very forgiving. One frosting that I'm trying to master is Italian meringue buttercream. For the people in Canada, there's a woman called Yolanda Gamp. And I love her work. She kind of inspired me to do a lot of this baking and, just kind of decompress from your day. So I'm so happy to do it.
Oh, that's so super. Thank you so much for sharing such a great talent of yours. I have a question from AJ. He says, what happens to this cake that you just made?
Oh, AJ. Hi, AJ. This cake is actually, because I ate so much frosting on Tuesday making it, I have to up my workouts this week. So I will be taking this cake to my friends at the gym and they will tear it apart probably later tonight. So unless you want to come pick it up,
Maybe you can, because there's a lot of comments that after eating this, they have to go to the gym. So maybe they can come and pick it up from the gym.
This cake actually will feed, if I didn't mention it, it will feed about About 8 to 10 people, relatively generously.
Wow,
Yeah,
it is generous.
very generous. I like to keep the cake layers relatively thick. Just I think I like more cake than the frosting itself, so you can do that. Going back to freezing, if you have started to cut your cake and you're not going to eat it all at once, which I know a lot of us can do, including myself, what you can do is cut the entire cake and then saran wrap individual pieces. My sister does that a lot when I send a cake for my nephew's birthdays, because then you have individual pieces, and whenever you decide, I want just a piece of cake, you can take just one piece out instead of having the entire cake go stale in the fridge. Fridging, maybe that's not the right word. Putting the cake in the refrigerator, fridging, not cool. The air in your refrigerator will dry out your cake very fast. So if you are on crunch time, or you know that you're not going to eat the cake the same day, do the saran wrap and put it in the freezer. It'll stay fresh. Once you cut into it, it'll literally have its sponginess and its bounce. But yeah, and maybe next time I'll talk more about fillings or something like that. So.
Oh, absolutely. I want to thank you from all our colleagues who were actually logged in
Yeah.
for your amazing talent. I know that in a bit we have to go back to the stage, but thank you so much, Depixa. It
You're
looks
welcome.
lovely. You have really good feedback on the chat. In the chat, everybody's loving it. Thank you
Good.
for sharing your skill with us. You are just sweet like your cake and beautiful as your cake.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Yes, thanks for coming. Bye.